realized that I had the correct socket to take these tie rod bolts out. Such an idiot for not realizing that I had the sockets this whole time, but oh well. I'm getting these last two bolts off, and then I'm going to send a rod and a piston from each bank. I'm going to send a spring, one of these springs, and I'm also going to send this guy right here because we're going to make one that's a lot thicker, stronger. Well, I don't know if we're going to make it thicker, but we're going to make it stronger out of something sturdier, because we don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to get that done real quick, and then get all this stuff packaged up, get ready to get sent off to Engineered Motorsport Solutions over in Tennessee. And then we're going to be heading over to my buddy's house to work on his Ram Cummins diesel later today. So fun day today, cool content, and let's get to it. So I wanted to make y'all a video about how to read a data log. This is obviously my F-150, so things might be a little bit different for your car depending on lots of things, but let's just start with what we see here. This is just a data log that I took and recorded of a 0 to 113 mile per hour run. We see this first one says acceleration pedal position D. So that's going to tell you whether I was full throttle or not. And as you can see, full throttle right here, it's all the way down to the floor. So that's good. I didn't chicken foot it or anything. Then we have airflow in pound per minute. It is the amount of air that your engine or your turbos are flowing. It's common knowledge that if you take your airflow number and multiply it by anywhere from 10 to 12, then that is usually your crank horsepower. But I'm going to tell you something a little bit later on in the video, once we get to some other things, that kind of makes that sort of change. So then we have boost here, and you can just tell what's going on. If it spikes really hard, that's definitely not good. If it's staying relatively flat, that's better. Boost is more one of those things that other things affect boost, especially on the Ford EcoBoost engines. If it'll pull timing, boost will drop, or just different things like that. So you can watch boost to see what it's doing, but you can't just watch boost and go, oh, why did it drop? You have to look at some of the other things and figure out, oh, that's why it dropped. Charge air cooler is your intercooler temperature, the air coming from the intercooler going into the engine. So the air that's been cooled by the intercooler is the charge air cooler temp. If it's a low temperature that you have when you're doing your pulls, obviously I had about 58 degrees, which is pretty cool. If your temperatures are cooler, you're going to make more power. If your temperatures are hotter, you're going to make less power because the truck actually derates power as heat goes up. Fuel rail pressure, that is a very important one to watch, especially if you have an upgraded fuel system or if you have an upgraded fuel pump or upgraded injectors. That's a serious one to watch. I definitely watch this one a lot. I even have it as a gauge on my tuner as I'm driving down the road. Then we have something called global knock. On this data log configuration, I am not using global knock because we are using individual knock. And individual knock is right here. Now you may ask, well, what's global knock and what's individual knock? I don't even know what that means. Well, global knock is over every cylinder in the engine. So cylinder 1 through 6, or if you have an 8-cylinder, it's telling you what the knock is over all the cylinders at one time. Individual knock is knock over each individual cylinder. So as you can see here, I have knock on cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is very confusing part. Some tuning devices and some tuning companies use data log configurations that read knock the opposite of other companies. So for example, knock here, you see those negative numbers right there? That means it's pulling timing out just a tiny bit. It's pulling 0.02 degrees out. So negative on my truck means pulling timing. If you're seeing 2, 3, 4 degrees of knock, like negative, depending on if yours is negative or positive, if it's negative and it's actually pulling that 3 or 4 degrees out, that's a serious problem and you better get off the gas immediately. If you're going medium throttle, like very low throttle going up a hill, if you're showing negative going up a hill like that, then your tuner is showing negative as adding timing and positive as pulling timing. I know that's very confusing, but there's countless people that have it that way, and even on one of my previous tunes, it was that way as well. Now, air to fuel ratio. The AFR is way off here. Way off. I mean, this is where it should be, right here. This is down here where it should be, and you can see these little jumps in it, like this huge jump, like that's not good at all. It would jump way up, then it would pull boost out a little bit, and just not a good thing. You don't want that. So you can watch air to fuel, and if it's like kind of a straight line, doesn't jump up like this, then you're looking good. Then we have octane adjust ratio. Octane adjust ratio is basically the fuel quality that you have in your tank. As you can see, I'm at negative 0.96. That is the best possible number, at least on the SCT devices for Ford, for the F-150, that you can possibly see. When I was on 91 octane fuel, I was seeing about negative 0.50 to negative 0.70. And that's like, that's okay, but it's not horrible. If your octane adjust ratio goes positive, then you have absolutely horrible fuel. Then we have spark advance. Now, spark advance is extremely important to watch. As you can see, spark advance is extremely important to watch. Depending on your fuel that you're using, you're going to see more spark advance or less spark advance. Right here where it dips is right where that air to fuel ratio went crazy, so it pulled spark way out. And usually my truck is running about 13 to 14 degrees of timing. As you can see there, it shows 13.5. The reason it shows 13, 14 degrees of timing is because I'm running E50, which is a very high octane fuel, and you can advance the timing a lot more on it than if you were just running 91 or 93 octane. We have another very important thing to watch, and that is throttle angle, the actual angle. So as you can see, this is wide open right here. That's wide open throttle, and you can see it dips way down at these different areas for certain reasons. Then we have another thing called turbo exhaust flow. It's also pound per minute like the airflow, but this is exhaust flow. So this is pound per minute of exhaust flow, And as you can see here, my max was 55.09 pound per minute. Turbo wastegate percentage. These are your wastegates on the back side of the turbo that let exhaust out so that it can go around the turbine instead of through it. Here, it's completely closed. Right here, it's completely open. So as you can see, throughout the whole run, my truck basically has the wastegate about halfway open during the whole acceleration. So I definitely don't know everything, but I'm learning. I hope you've learned something from this video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you later.